All right, this is section 3-1, lines and angles. All right, so we're going to start off with a quick vocabulary review. We're going to write true or false for each one. So, can we name a plane by a capital letter such as A? Well, that's true. We can name just a plane by the capital letter A. A plane contains a finite number of lines. That's false. A plane contains an infinite number of lines. There are many, many, many lines in a plane. Number 3, 2 points lying on the same plane are coplanar. That is true. That's what it means to be coplanar. It means to be on the same plane. Number 4, if two distinct planes intersect, then they intersect in exactly one line. That's true. That's the definition of the intersection of two planes. All right, so to add to our vocabulary for this section is parallel. So the definition, parallel lines lie in the same plane but never intersect, no matter how far they extend. We will use the symbol 2 vertical lines like this to represent parallel. Okay, so we're going to use our vocabulary here. In number 5, we're going to circle the segment that is parallel to the x-axis. So here is the x-axis along this. Which segment? AB, here's AB, BC, CD, or AD are parallel to the x-axis. Well, AB is parallel to the x-axis, and CD is parallel to the x-axis. All right, now which ones are parallel to the y-axis? And here is the y-axis. And it looks like we're going to have BC is parallel. That's this segment here. And we're going to have this segment here, AD. All right, circle the polygon that have 2 pairs of parallel sides. Okay, so a rectangle, opposite sides are parallel. And a parallelogram, opposite sides are parallel. And a square, opposite sides are parallel. In a trapezoid, exactly 1 pair of opposite sides are parallel. The other sides are not parallel, so this does not work. All right, so let's complete each statement with line or segment. A blank consists of 2 endpoints and all the points in between them. Well, a segment consists of 2 endpoints and all the points in between those endpoints. Remember, segments end. A blank is made up of an infinite number of points. A line extends in both directions forever and ever, and is made up of an infinite number of points. All right, additional vocabulary. So again, parallel lines are coplanar lines that do not intersect. So these are lines that lie in the same plane that do not intersect. Skew lines are lines that do not lie in the same plane. They are non-coplanar. They are not parallel, and they do not intersect. They are not parallel, and they do not intersect. Parallel planes are planes that do not intersect. All right. So we're going to write each word, phrase, or symbol in the correct oval. Okay. So for intersect, which ones intersect? Okay, so parallel lines are coplanar. They do not intersect. And from our picture, 2 examples of parallel lines would be line AE and line CG. Okay, some examples of skew lines. So skew lines are non-coplanar. They do not intersect. And examples of skew lines would be CB and AE. So here's CB, here's AE. They don't intersect. Okay, they're not in the same plane. Okay. All right, problem number 1. So use this figure at the right, identify which segments are parallel to AD. So in plane ADHE, so this front plane here, blank is parallel to AD. Well, EH would be parallel to AD. In plane ADBC, so ADBC, the top plane, which segment is parallel to AD? Well, the segment BC would be parallel. All right, in plane ADGF, ADGF. So this is the diagonal plane that goes through this rectangle. Blank is parallel to AD. FG is parallel. Okay. So explain why FE and CD are not skew. So here's FE and here is CD. They're not skew lines because they do not, well, they don't intersect, but they're not skew because you could draw a plane that goes through the diagonal. So that's why they're not skew lines. All right, 14. Cross out the words or phrases that do not describe skew lines. So skew lines are non-coplanar, they are not parallel, and they do not intersect. Okay, circle the correct statement below. So which one's correct? Segments and rays can be skew if they lie in skewed lines. Segments and rays are never skew. Well, they can be skew if they're in skewed lines. Remember, segments and rays are part of lines. Okay, 16. Underline the correct word to complete the sentence. So FE and CD are in a plane that slopes from the bottom left edge to the top right edge of the figure. Why are FE and CD not skew? Okay, so I would say the following. They are not skew segments because they are part of the plane CDEF. Therefore, they are coplanar. Okay. All right. Now let's talk about some special angles that are formed. So we talked about parallel lines, and now we're going to talk about two lines that are cut by something called a transversal. Okay, so here we have two lines, line L and we have line M. And we have another line that cuts or goes through, intersects both of these lines, and that's called a transversal. So some special names, big vocabulary. Alternate interior angles are non-adjacent interior angles that lie on the opposite sides of the transversal. So examples of alternate interior would be angle 4 and angle 6. They're on opposite sides on the inside. Okay. Same side interior angles are interior angles that lie on the same side of the transversal. So example would be 4 and 5, same side. Okay. Corresponding angles lie on the same side of a transversal and in corresponding positions. So example would be 5 and 1. Those are corresponding. They're both on top and on the left of the transversal. Okay. Alternate exterior angles are non-adjacent exterior angles that lie on opposite sides of the transversal. So alternate exterior would be here. 1 and 7 would be examples of alternate exterior. All right. So use the diagram to draw the arrows. So what are 4 and 6? Well, 4 and 6 are alternate interior angles. 3 and 6 are same side interior angles. 2 and 6 are going to be corresponding angles. 2 and 8 are alternate exterior angles. All right, problem 2. All right, what are 3 pairs of corresponding angles in the diagram at the right? So, which is the transversal? So we have 2 lines, M and N, and they're both intersected by R. So we are going to underline. R is the transversal. Corresponding angles are on the same side of the transversal. So now we're going to name 3 pairs. So here's 1 and 3 would be a pair of corresponding angles. 2 and 4 would be a pair of corresponding angles. 8 and 6 would be another pair. And 7 and 5 would be another pair. So let's see if we've got it. Are angles 1 and 3 on the same side of the transversal? 1 and 3, yes, they are on the same side. Cross out the types of angles. Cross out the angle types that do not describe 1 and 3. Well, 1 and 3 are not both on the exterior, so they can't be alternate exterior. They're not both on the interior, they can't be alternate interior. They're not both on the same side interior, so they have to be corresponding. So 1 and 3 are corresponding angles. All right. So let's name name one pair each of the segments or planes. So 28. What would be a parallel segment? So AB is parallel to the obvious one, EF. Skew segments, HD and I'm going to say BC are skew. So A, B, C, D, the bottom plane and the top plane would be parallel planes, E, F, G, H. All right, alternate interior. So angle 8 and angle 6 would be alternate interior. 32, same side interior, angle 8 and angle 3. Corresponding, angle 1 and angle 3. Alternate exterior, angle 7 and angle 5. Okay. So error analysis. Carly and Juan examined the figure at the right. Carly says line segment AB is parallel to line segment HG. Juan says line segment AB and line segment HG are skew. Who is correct? All right, let's go through the following. So parallel segments are coplanar. Is that true or false? Well, that's true. There are only 6 planes in a cube. That is false. There are 6 faces of a cube, but remember, we can also draw planes through the diagonals. Okay. No plane contains AB, so here's AB and HG. Well, the diagonal would contain both of those, so that's false. So who is correct? Carly is correct. And the reason I would say the segments are parallel since they do not intersect and are coplanar. Okay, plane plane AB GH contains AB and HG. There we go. And you should be able to have these vocabulary words underneath your belt by this point.